Azure Functions versus Logic Apps. Both are serverless, right? Same thing, just pick one and go. That's what most beginners and even experienced developers assume. But here's the kicker. Choose Logic Apps and you'll be shocked when your bill explodes from looping connectors and per action billing. Choose Functions and now you're writing complex orchestration code from scratch with no retry or state handling unless you build it yourself. There's no side-by-side comparison in the Azure portal. Debugging is inconsistent and the security story completely different between plans. Just when you think you have figured it out, you realize Logic Apps don't play nicely with CI/CD and functions need manual state management. Hey, I'm Bhanu. I've designed and deployed hundreds of Azure Functions and Logic Apps for mission-critical systems from real-time APIs to Fortune 500 workflow automations. In this video, you will learn the real decision-making framework behind Functions versus Logic Apps, when to code, when to click, and how to avoid cold starts, bloated builds, and security gaps, and how to scale with confidence whether you're building APIs or automating workflows. By the end of this video, you won't just know what to choose, you'll know why, when, and how to choose with zero regrets and maximum confidence. Let's dive in. The decision paralysis from overlapping capabilities. Here's the first big challenge, the decision paralysis. Because the Azure portal doesn't make it any easier, Logic Apps and Functions sit side by side, both labeled serverless. You might assume they can do the job, right? Either can do the job, only to be blindsided later by hidden cost limitations or unexpected complexity. This lack of clarity leaves you guessing, wasting time, money, and creating team confusion. So when do costs start to spiral out of control? That brings us to the next point. Cost pitfalls that drain your budget. Logic Apps charge you per action. That includes retries, loops. Every single step adds up. Imagine a loop running over 100 records. That's 100 actions plus a connector call for each item. That's when bills start to climb fast. Functions, on the other hand, cost less per execution, but managing retries, state, and error handling means more development time and potentially more hidden bugs. Speaking of bugs, especially the ones that are hard to track, let's talk debugging and monitoring. Debugging and monitoring, a tale of two tools. Azure Functions integrate smoothly with application insights, detailed telemetry, stack traces, and end-to-end metrics. Logic Apps give you visual debugging, which is great at first, but when errors hide deep inside connector chains, it's like looking through frosted glass. Okay, so what about orchestration complexity? Who's responsible for what? Let's get into it. Orchestration and workflow complexity. Logic Apps let you drag and drop workflows, perfect for simple automations. But as conditions grow, that clean flowchart quickly becomes workflow spaghetti. Functions require durable orchestration code. It takes more design effort upfront, but results in cleaner, maintainable logic for development teams over time. Now, the part where many get stuck, security and networking. And trust me, this is where it's not apples to apples. Security and networking. Functions support managed identities, VNet integration, and seamless key vault access across most plans. Logic Apps, especially the consumption tier, not so much. You'll pay more for standard or ISC tiers if you need proper network isolation or security integration. Many architects try to retrofit security later, but this should be part of your initial design choice. Now, developers, if you're wondering how this affects CI/CD and day-to-day experience, let's break it down. Developer experience in CI/CD. Functions are code first, meaning full CI/CD support via GitHub Actions, Azure DevOps, you name it. Logic Apps in standard tier are better now, but in consumption Logic Apps, still frustrating in pipelines. Teams with major DevOps practices often find Logic Apps limiting, especially when versioning, testing, or promoting across environments. So what's the real side by side? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the comparison table. So we'll go through the feature and how Azure Functions and Logic Apps compare against each feature. So Azure Functions follow the code-first approach. Logic Apps follow low-code visual designer approach. In terms of state handling, Azure Functions are stateless, and if you need state, you need to go for durable functions. Logic Apps have built-in state management. What about connectors? Azure Functions have triggers and bindings. Logic Apps have 400 plus connectors, including B2B and on-premise connectors. In terms of security, Azure Functions have managed identity, VNet, and key vault integration. Logic Apps, they are limited in consumption tier. The cost model for Azure Functions is per execution, but for Logic Apps, it's per action, including loops and connectors. In terms of debugging, Azure Functions integrate with application insights. Logic Apps are visual and they have limited detail. In terms of CI/CD, Azure Functions are pipeline friendly. Logic Apps are clunky for consumption. Now that you see the differences, let's answer the most important question. Which one should you choose? Before we continue, if you have found this helpful and if you think I've earned it, hit that like button, subscribe for more Azure and cloud content, and tap the bell icon so that you don't miss future videos and deep dives. Now, let's get back to the part that really matters. How do you decide between Logic Apps and Azure Functions? You need to ask these questions before choosing. Ask yourself, what are your team's strengths? Coding or low-code design? Are you integrating Azure services or on-premise systems? Is time to market critical? Do you need real-time processing or batch workflows? Are you integrating multiple networks or B2B systems? What's your scaling and cost tolerance? And finally, how mature is your CI/CD practice? These questions guide your decision more than any marketing label. So let's turn that into a simple decision framework. Decision framework, which one to choose? Choose Azure Functions if you need event-driven processing, you want microservices or custom logic, your integrations are mostly Azure native, you need low latency responses, and you want long-term cost optimization. Choose Logic Apps if you need workflow orchestration, you are integrating with B2B or on-premise systems, your team prefers low code, you need connector-heavy automation. Here's the bottom line. Functions are code first, scalable, and they have custom logic. Logic Apps are low code, workflow orchestration, and they are connector rich. And sometimes you'll need to use both together. Treat this as a framework, not a rule. Match your use case to the tool, design workflows carefully, and you'll avoid the traps that frustrate both beginners and experts. I'll finish with a final thought. Pick with confidence. Build serverless solutions that scale, perform, and stay maintainable, no matter which one you choose. Click on the next video on the screen. I'll see you in the next one.